This is KGW News at 5.
Welcome to KGW News. We begin tonight with a live look at our Pioneer Courthouse Square. Things seem relatively calm now, but another cold front is expected to move in tonight. It's unclear if we'll see rain or snow in the Rose City. Simply put, the temperature will decide if we're getting another round of snow. Daisy Caballero is joining us from the Weather Center. And Daisy, what's the latest radar showing?
Well, Blair, yeah, you're totally right. It's really going to depend on your elevation and those conditions, on what you're going to be seeing, whether that's rain or snow. But this is that system, our next weather maker, that is going to be bringing those conditions. But Portland Metro, 41 degrees. It was a beautiful day out. We saw a lot of that sun and actually helped to thaw out a lot of those roads, at least the roads that I was on. But unfortunately, we're going to be seeing a completely different setup for the next few days. Take a look at our lows for today. 17 degrees in Vancouver, 18 in Portland, 16 in Hillsborough. All three actually broke previous record lows. The Portland record low was dated back in 1969, and that was 23 degrees. So we really blew that previous record low out of the water. But looking at those current temperatures right now, we've warmed up a pretty good amount, seeing 38 degrees for Hillsborough, also for Forest Grove, 36 for Timber Junction. And we're actually already starting to see those 20s in Pendleton and 36 degrees for the Dalles. Again, this is a look at that 3-day forecast, more snow and rain, but we'll talk more about this coming up in my full forecast.
All right, Daisy, thank you. Well, let's get to an update from PBOT. The agency says it's making good progress on main roadways, saying essential travel is probably okay, though it's important to remain cautious.
By and large, people are able to travel with caution using public transit or front-wheel drive vehicles on our routes. You may experience snow and slick conditions, especially on side streets before you reach those routes. So be aware that we still don't have normal conditions today. Use caution. If you're not comfortable driving on a mix of slush and some snowy material on these side streets, then you may want to walk to public transit, walk to local businesses.
Now to a warning from Hillsborough. The police department there says they have responded to multiple crashes because of icy road conditions. Tonight, Hillsborough Police is urging drivers to be extra cautious if they have to drive. This all while many drivers are still dealing with the aftermath of Wednesday's storm. As we've reported this week, people attempted to get home that night but ran into various obstacles. So several left their vehicles, hoping to return to get them when conditions improved. Alma McCarty has the story of one man surprised to find his car vandalized.
Roads like I-205 are looking a lot better on Saturday than they did earlier this week. I spoke with a man named Joshua, who was one of the many stranded on the road for a long time Wednesday into Thursday. He said he spent more than 17 hours in his car and ultimately decided to abandon it on the side of the road.
An arborist on his commute home from Aloha, Joshua found himself caught in a mess.
Because there were buses and semis and cars just piled up on top of each other. So that ended up turning into like a 12-hour just parking lot.
He eventually made it to 84 and then 205.
I got stuck there. That was like another 5 hours or something. I just kind of gave up, and I parked my car on the side of the road and started to walk.
He made it back to his home in southeast Portland, only to return to his car on Friday, broken into and vandalized.
They had broken out that window and then went under the hood, and they tried to steal the car. That didn't work, so they tried to steal the battery and the computer. That didn't work, so they tried to rip out the fuses and the relays, and they tried to take the whole thing, and so they ripped out my wiring harness, and so they couldn't get that out, so then they stole everything, and then they just took an axe to like the whole entire engine bay and then into the interior of the car.
Joshua says the axe and the other work gear in the back seat was gone. Glass covered the inside, the front bumper and hood were broken, and the car wouldn't turn on. Overall, a discouraging situation.
I've thought it over a million times, like should I have moved the car somewhere else, but there was really no place to move it. Everybody was stuck.
Then Friday night, a friend with a truck stepped in to help.
48 hours later, now just getting the car home. Thanks to my buddy. came all the way from Corvallis to help me. He was very nice and tied it up, and we towed it all the way home. So that was awesome. That was like a victory.
At this time, PPB has limited information about possible car prowls or vandalism post-snowstorm, but says these incidents are often reported later on, given the staffing and delays in response times for non-emergency calls. Joshua doubts he's the only victim.
I'm positive that there were other cars that this happened to, and I've had seen several other cars with their windows broke out or their wheels gone. I'm sure it happened to several other people. It wasn't just me.
In Portland, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Well, a driver hit an ODOT truck on the shoulder of I-205 near Airport Way just before noon on Friday. Portland police tweeted out these pictures, and police say the driver of the van swerved to avoid another car and lost control on the ice. The ODOT worker was helping someone else on the shoulder. Both the ODOT employee and driver in the van were taken to the hospital, but should be okay. Well, because the roads are so slick, many people hoping to clear down trees have had to wait. Cale Williams reports.
Typically, the day after a snowstorm is a busy time for arborists, with trees down across the city. But the same thing that's kept most of us at home, icy roads, has kept their chainsaws quiet.
We didn't send any crews out. Typically, if I can get up my steep driveway in my truck, we'll send a crew out. And that wasn't happening today.
Jeremy Wagner, owner of Urban Timber Tree Services, said there's no shortage of work to do, but no easy way to get to it.
The roads are pretty bad, and our trucks and chippers, we don't want to cause any more problems on the roads.
Snow, heavy rains, and strong winds can wreak havoc with Portland's trees, causing power outages and sometimes worse.
Usually what we see at this point is, the more severe stuff like trees on houses that need to get off right away. And we've seen a few of those.
Portland Parks and Recreation has responded to almost 60 calls for tree service since the recent storm dropped nearly a foot of snow on some parts of the city. And a spokesman said cleanup crews would be working through the weekend. But Wagner said the best time to worry about your trees is long before there's a storm on the horizon.
The best trees are the ones that have been pruned meticulously for their entire lifespan. And eliminate those issues at the beginning, they're going to last a lot longer.
Now, Wagner told me that he has seen an uptick in calls, but nothing too crazy. He does anticipate, though, that as this snow thaws, more problems will reveal themselves. Cale Williams, KGW News.
And we will continue to update you on the latest weather news throughout our show tonight. And for weather updates anytime, download the KGW News app. Well, let's take a look at your national headlines tonight. A historic winter storm is unleashing heavy rain and snow in parts of Los Angeles County. This is a look at the 5 freeway, where several cars are almost completely underwater due to severe flooding across the region. The passengers were able to exit the cars, and there are no reports of injuries. Now, crews are working to try and pipe the water out, even as heavy rain continues. Well, multiple people were stabbed overnight following a fight at a bar in Oklahoma City. Several officers were at the scene when the fight broke out and saw several injured people exiting the club. Authorities say 8 people were hurt, including 2 with critical injuries. It's unclear what caused the fight to break out, and no arrests have been made so far. It's been 1 year since Russia invaded Ukraine. NBC's Richard Engel has been covering this war from the beginning and has more from Ukraine tonight.
Ukrainians this morning observed a moment of silence for a war they were widely expected to lose. But no one here is celebrating. They've paid a heavy price to survive the worst year of their lives. President Zelensky thanked his troops and honored the tens of thousands of Ukrainians killed so far. Ukrainians have proven invincible, he said. Later, getting emotional as he spoke about his own family, saying his wife is working to help children and all Ukrainians. This war doesn't appear anywhere close to over. Poland today delivered new German-made Leopard tanks, just the first 4 of 14. Ukraine is expected to launch a new counteroffensive when more weapons, including American tanks, arrive. A year ago, Russian President Vladimir Putin thought Ukraine would fall quickly, that Ukrainians would be happy to join Russia. Instead, they packed off their families to be refugees. 13 million are displaced from their homes. And then, Ukrainians went out to fight.
Attacking apartment complexes like this is a terror campaign to frighten Ukrainians into surrendering. But it's not working. and all the damage here and across this country is only convincing Ukrainians of the need to fight back more or lose everything.
Today, the White House announced another $2 billion in military aid for Ukraine and imposed new sanctions on Russia. Although sanctions so far have not deterred Putin. Secretary of State Blinken with a blunt message at the UN.
Members of this council should not fall into the false equivalency of calling on both sides to stop fighting. One man, Vladimir Putin, started this war. One man can end it.
And now, after giving Russia a critical economic lifeline, China is offering to play peacemaker, presenting a 12-point peace plan that's light on specifics. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, speaking to NBC's Andrea Mitchell, with a warning if China were to give weapons to Russia.
It would be a game changer, and it would be something we would have serious concerns about.
1 year on, Ukrainians are fighting for their homes, and it appears Putin failed to appreciate that there's no more powerful motivation than that.